You are listening to part 4 of the new ebook by David Chase Taylor entitled The East Star Apocalypse, Mayan Apocalypse expected to commence on Easter Sunday, April 21, 2019, followed by end of Maya calendar on Halloween, October 31, 2020. Book 15, Aliases of the Orion Nebula. Chapter 49, Planet Saturn. Exactly what will transpire when the Orion Nebula, that is, Sears, Nibiru, Planet 9, Planet X, Rings of Saturn, etc., appears over Earth during the apocalypse is not known, but humanity will likely be exposed to the rings of Saturn, which are lightning blue and or white color. Needless to say, the CIA-run media will attempt to sell this naturally occurring phenomenon as an alien invasion. Although only conjecture, it appears that the alleged planet Sears is code word for the rings of Saturn, for Earth is slated to pass through a Sears or series of Saturn's rings. The rings of Saturn, which are admittedly black holes, will evidently have a transformative creation-like effect on Earth due in part to syzygy, that is, when two planetary bodies are yoked together. Black holes exhibit strong gravitational effects that nothing, not even particles and electromagnetic radiation such as light, can escape from. Coincidentally, Saturn is known as both the black planet and black star, a theoretical alternative to the black hole concept from general relativity. The 5 Olympic rings, which are admittedly Greco-Roman in origin, are an apparent tribute to the 5 rings of Saturn which the Earth is evidently slated to pass through during the apocalypse. The black and final Olympic ring is likely representative of the black hole, which poses a grave threat to the Greco-Roman Empire, who must defeat it in order to survive the apocalypse. That is likely why the symbol for Sears contains a cross and question mark, for even the Greco-Roman Empire is clueless as to what will happen when Earth passes through the rings of Saturn. The notion that the Earth will be targeted by the rings of Saturn is coincidentally found within the symbol of Saturn, which contains both a cross symbol, that is, plus, and a lowercase letter h. The plus symbol is symbolic of the cross or crossover of Saturn, while the letter h, which is pronounced ich or h, is indicative of the chi symbol, which is coincidentally located in the 5th position of the Roman score, that is, the original numeric alphabet, a numeric tribute to the 5 rings of Saturn. Lastly, the term Saturn, S plus T plus R plus N/X, is consonantly speaking the same as the term asterisk, S plus T plus R plus N/X, whose symbol is an actual star, S plus T plus R, which is most often depicted with 5 points, an apparent symbolic tribute to the 5 rings of Saturn. Chapter 50, Saturn's Rings of Fire. Exactly what will transpire when the Orion Nebula, that is, Sears, Nibiru, Planet 9, Planet X, Rings of Saturn, etc., appears over Earth is not known, but it appears that Earth will be enveloped in a ring or rings of fire. This phenomenon may include but is not limited to the activation of the Earth's magnetosphere, possibly resulting in a global aurora borealis anchored at the North Pole in Greenland and the South Pole in Australia, that is, Uluru. In what appears to be a titular tribute to the fiery rings of Saturn, the volcanic chain encircling the Pacific Ocean is entitled the Great Ring of Fire. The late Johnny Cash's song entitled Ring of Fire, 1963, is evidently a veiled musical tribute to this impending phenomenon, which states, "I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, burns, burns. The Ring of Fire." The notion that a ring of fire will encompass Earth was foreshadowed in the logo of Black Sabbath's The End Tour, which coincidentally started on January 20, 2016, the same date that planetary alignment commenced. The total solar eclipse on September 1, 2016, was mysteriously entitled a Ring of Fire Eclipse. Roughly 3 weeks later, on September 23, 2016, USA Today published a report entitled Gary Johnson, Forget About Climate Change, Sun Will Someday Encompass Earth, which was evidently designed to foreshadow the notion that the Earth will travel through the Sun one day, albeit the black sun, otherwise known as the Orion Nebula. Coincidentally, the solar eclipse of February 26, 2017, was also dubbed the Ring of Fire Eclipse, further foreshadowing that the arrival of the fiery rings of Saturn are imminent. Lastly, the notion that the Earth will pass through a great ring of fire was foreshadowed in a November 7, 2017, USA Today report entitled Stephen Hawking, Earth Could Become Ball of Fire in 600 Years. The number 600 or 6 equates to the letter F, which was formerly a double cross, that is, apostrophe, because the world is being tricked by Hawking's claim for the ball of fire won't transpire in 600 years but rather in 2019. Chapter 51, Saturn in Popular Culture. The cult of Saturnalia evidently consisted of the elite of the Greco-Roman Empire who were in the know, so to speak, that the rogue planet known as Saturn would eventually destroy their empire. If word got out to the public, the empire would have likely collapsed, which is why even today the world is completely oblivious to what is about to transpire. The notion that the Earth will be subjected to the disk-like rings of Saturn, which is evidently why artistic renditions of the cult of Saturnalia prominently feature disks. The term discovery was likely derived from the discovery of Saturn's harmful disks, which are slated to pass over Earth. Because of Saturn's threat to the very existence of the Greco-Roman Empire, there are countless references to the black star of Saturn in popular culture. For example, David Bowie released a song and album in 2016 entitled Black Star. Bowie was evidently assassinated shortly thereafter during a ritualistic blood sacrifice offered up to the arrival of the black star known as Saturn. If the Greco-Roman Empire is to be victorious over the apocalypse, it must conquer the rings of Saturn. That is why the Greco-Roman goddess of victory is Nike, which is celebrated on a global level via Nike Incorporated, whose famous swoosh logo is an artistic rendition of the rings of Saturn, the archenemy or nemesis of the Greco-Roman Empire. The rings of Saturn are also depicted in the logo of Boeing, the largest aerospace company in the world, which was likely responsible for the fabrication of the International Space Station, ISS, as well as in the logo of NASA, which likely coordinated the construction of the ISS, that is, the Death Star. Chapter 52, Planet Nibiru. The term Nibiru translates to crossing or point of transition in Babylonian astronomy, where it is identified with Marduk. Nibiru is also code word for the Orion Nebula, that is, Seers, Planet 9, Planet X, rings of Saturn, etc., which will begin its crossover Earth during the apocalypse. The establishment of the Nibiru point is described in Tablet 5 of the creation epic Enuma Elish, when Marduk fixed the locations, Mansazu, of Nibiru, Enlil and Ea in the sky. In short, the Enuma Elish states that Nibiru is Marduk's star, which he made appear in the heavens. The stars of heaven, let him, Nibiru, set their course. Let him shepherd all the gods like sheep. Translation: Marduk, that is, Nibiru, is the ruler of the universe which all gods must bow down to, for her appearance marks the turning point, that is, the apocalypse and the end of the Maya calendar. Although the Mul.Apin, the conventional title given to a Babylonian compendium that deals with many diverse aspects of Babylonian astronomy and astrology, identifies Nibiru as Jupiter, it is nothing more than a veiled reference to Saturn. The Mul.Apin states that when the stars of Enlil have been finished, one big star, although its light is dim, divides the sky in half and stands there, that is, the star of Marduk, Nibiru, Jupiter. It keeps changing its position and crosses the sky. Translation: when the planets have aligned, one big star named Saturn, although its light is dim, which is why it is known as the Black Planet, divides the ages and stands there, that is, the star of Saturn, that is, Nibiru. It keeps changing its position and crosses over the Earth. Said crossing of Earth by Marduk is known as the Nibiru Cataclysm, which is defined as the supposed disastrous encounter between the Earth and a large planetary object, either a collision or a near miss, which certain groups believe will take place in the early 21st century. Naturally, Wikipedia states that the idea that a planet-sized object will collide with or closely pass by Earth in the near future is not supported by any scientific evidence and has been rejected by astronomers and planetary scientists as pseudoscience and an internet hoax. Chapter 53, Planet 9. The hypothetical Planet 9, that is, Planet 9, is intimately linked to the Nibiru Cataclysm, which is evidently scientific and semantic cover for the recreation of Earth courtesy of the Orion Nebula during the apocalypse. Although only conjecture, it appears that the bluish-white color of Planet 9 in virtually all artistic renditions of the mysterious planet has to do with the final days of the apocalypse, which will likely feature blue and white lightning storms during the passage of Earth through the Orion Nebula, which will evidently recreate Earth via white light from what modern scientists call black holes. Saturn, which is referred to as the black star in the ancient Judaic religion, is a gravitational object composed of matter that's admittedly a theoretical alternative to the black hole concept from general relativity. Back in March of 2014, astronomers Chad Trujillo and Scott Shepard published a paper in Nature arguing that the apparent clustering of the arguments of perihelion of distant trans-Neptunian objects suggested the existence of a large trans-Neptunian planet which they dubbed Planet 9. Back on January 25, 2016, the Daily Mail published a report entitled, "Discovery of Planet 9 Has Dramatic Repercussions for the World of Astrology," which revealed that Planet 9 will have a major effect on astrological events. That same day on January 25, 2016, the Daily Mail reported that Planet 9 was discovered within our solar system. Roughly 20 months later on October 4, 2017, NASA published a report entitled, The Super-Earth That Came Home for Dinner, which further confirmed that Planet 9 has now been located within our solar system. Roughly 7 months later on May 22, 2018, The Atlantic published a report entitled Planet 9, Show Thyself, which foreshadowed that the arrival of Planet 9, that is, the Orion Nebula, is imminent. A day later on May 23, 2018, The Independent published a report entitled, Planet 9, Undiscovered World Might Be Hiding in Our Own Solar System, New Findings Suggest, which further invoked the notion that Planet 9 actually exists. A few weeks later on June 5, 2018, The Express published a report entitled, Does Planet 9 Exist? Collective Gravity Theory Disproves Mysterious Ninth Planet in System, which further highlighted the notion of the rogue planet within our solar system. 4 days later on June 9, 2018, Business Insider published a report entitled, Is it Planet 9 or Planet X? Scientists spar over what to call the solar system's hypothetical missing world, which was designed to highlight rogue planets just prior to the arrival of the Orion Nebula. Because the lettering equates to the X symbol within the Roman score, that is, the original numeric alphabet, the term 9, n plus n, consonantly speaking equates to 20, which is coincidentally found within the geometry of the Star of Divide, that is, the Star of David. The name David, D plus V plus T, is consonantly speaking the same as divide, D plus V plus D. For Planet 9 represents the divide in time between the ages or the fourth and fifth world, otherwise known as the Apocalypse. That is to say that the Star of David is both geometrically and grammatically representative of this crack in time. Lastly, the idiom known as the cat has 9 lives was likely derived from Planet 9, which represents the cat, C plus T, or cut, C plus T, in time which the Greco-Roman Empire is hoping to live through, hence the reference to 9 lives. Chapter 54, Planet X. The hypothetical Planet X is intimately linked to the Nibiru Cataclysm, which is evidently scientific and semantic cover for the recreation of Earth due to the arrival of the Orion Nebula. In 1894, Bostonian astronomer Percival Lowell became convinced that the planets Uranus and Neptune were being tugged by the gravity of another, more distant planet, which he called Planet X. Nevertheless, today, modern astronomers state that Planet X, as originally defined, does not exist. Back on January 21, 2016, the New York Post published a report entitled, Planet X, or Nibiru, is on a crash course with Earth, doomsayers believe, which states that ... Although many conspiracies, hoaxes and theories surrounding Planet X have previously been debunked, they have gaining in popularity since the discovery of Planet 9. Interestingly, in virtually all artistic renditions of the rogue planet, Planet X is always red or orange in color, which coincidentally reflects the blood moon and blood sun phenomenon, which was evidently triggered by the glow of the incoming Orion Nebula. Because the number 42 is 24 backwards, which equates to the letter X in the English alphabet, the alias of the Orion Nebula known as M42 appears to be a titular tribute to Planet X. The X symbol is known internationally as the symbol of death, for the Orion Nebula will evidently destroy the Earth as we know it, likely killing all the evil people in the process. Planet X was likely named in part after the Book of Exodus within the Holy Bible, which, aside from following the Book of Genesis, which features the Noah's Ark narrative, appears to be a veiled reference to the Greco-Roman Empire's exodus from Earth for the safety of the ISS, International Space Station, back on May 5, 2016. Aside from the letter X, which is representative of death and thereby Planet X, the term Exodus, X plus D plus S, is consonantly speaking the same as the term days, D plus S, for the so-called Exodus marks the X days or death days of the Apocalypse, the sole reason for the aforementioned abandonment of Earth. Lastly, on June 9, 2018, Business Insider published a report entitled, Is it Planet 9 or Planet X? Scientists spar over what to call the solar system's hypothetical missing world, which was designed to highlight both Planet 9 and Planet X just prior to the arrival of the Orion Nebula. Chapter 55, Planet Sears. Based on its name and symbol alone, it can be deduced that the black dwarf planet known as Sears is code word for the rings of Saturn, that is, Orion Nebula, which are evidently slated to pass over Earth during the apocalypse. Although only conjecture, it appears that the bluish-white color of Sears in virtually all artistic renditions of the mysterious planet has to do with the final days of the apocalypse, possibly 9 in total, which will likely feature blue and white lightning storms during the passage of Earth through the Orion Nebula, which will evidently recreate Earth via white light from what modern scientists call black holes. Saturn, which is referred to as the black star in the ancient Judaic religion, is a gravitational object composed of matter that's admittedly a theoretical alternative to the black hole concept from general relativity. Although Ceres is allegedly the largest object in the asteroid belt that lies between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, it appears to be a veiled reference to the Orion Nebula and the rings of Saturn. The astrological symbol for Ceres contains both a sickle and a cross, and the term Ceres, C/K plus R plus S, is consonantly speaking the same as cross, C/K plus R plus S. The official symbol of the Roman Empire, for Ceres, is evidently slated to cross over Earth. The X in Planet X, a name used in reference to a rogue planet within our solar system, is also a twisted cross, another veiled reference to Ceres. Consequently, it can be deduced that Ceres and Planet X are in fact one and the same planetary body. Because the letter C and the letters are interchangeable within the English language. For example, cent, century, etc., Ceres, C/S plus R plus C/S, is consonantly and phonetically speaking the same as Ceres, C/S plus R plus C/S, for Earth is evidently slated to pass through a series of rings belonging to Saturn. When Ceres passes over planet Earth, it will likely render a prolonged solar eclipse which will ultimately fulfill a version of the 3 days of darkness prophecy. In a November 11, 2009, report from NASA entitled 2012, A Scientific Reality Check, Donald Yeomans of NASA's Near-Earth Object Program stated that, "There's no planet Nibiru, there's no planet X, and nothing is hurtling toward us." But there have been claims on the internet that there is a planet called Nibiru, 4 times the size of the Earth, that's going to the Earth, or smack it. In December of 2012, the blatant denial of Planet X was reiterated in a NASA report from December 22, 2012, entitled, Beyond 2012, Why the World Didn't End, which posed the question, is there a planet or brown dwarf called Nibiru or Planet X or Eris that is approaching the Earth and threatening our planet with widespread destruction? NASA answered the hypothetical question by stating that, Nibiru and other stories about wayward planets are an internet hoax. There is no factual basis for these claims. If Nibiru or Planet X were real and headed for an encounter with the Earth in 2012, astronomers would have been tracking it for at least the past decade, and it would be visible by now to the naked eye. Obviously, it does not exist. Eris is real, but it is a dwarf planet similar to Pluto that will remain in the outer solar system. The closest it can come to Earth is about 4 billion miles. The reference to a dwarf planet appears to be an ominous reference to the dwarf planet Ceres. Similar to NASA's fraudulent claims in respect to planetary alignment in 2016, there are scientific claims of so-called new planets within our solar system which were disseminated to subconsciously program the world for the arrival of Ceres. Back on December 8, 2015, Cornell University stated that they have detected a previously unknown object in our solar system, a planet-sized object, gravitationally unbound, that has since been named NA. Roughly a month later, on January 20, 2016, Popular Science published a report entitled, The Search for the Real Planet X, which revealed that scientists have found evidence that there's a giant planet in the outer solar system. In order to foreshadow the arrival of Planet X and its inherent cleansing of planet Earth, Russia Today published a report on April 9, 2016, entitled Planet X to Really Cause Mass Extinction This Month. Needless to say, these reports, taken collectively, confirm, albeit in a de facto manner, that Planet X not only exists but will pay Earth a visit during the apocalypse. Chapter 56, The Black Sun. The arrival of a rogue planet over Earth will evidently trigger a sequence of events which will beget the fifth world as depicted in the Popol Vuh, the Mayan glyphs and hieroglyphs containing the Maya creation myth. The central theme of the myth holds that there were 4 other cycles of creation and destruction that preceded the fifth world. According to Aztec mythology, the present world is a product of 4 cycles of birth, death, and reincarnation. When each world is destroyed, it is reborn through the sacrifice of a god which creates a new sun and a new world. In short, after the 4th sun is destroyed, the gods will gather to choose a god who will become the new sun. Interestingly, the myth states that the sun will remain motionless in the sky, burning the ground below. However, after a sacrifice, the sun will begin to move through the sky, energizing the earth instead of burning it. This appears to be a veiled reference to the arrival of the Orion Nebula, that is, Ceres, Nibiru, Planet 9, Planet X, rings of Saturn, etc., which will evidently recreate Earth due to its electrically infused power as a result of syzygy. That is, when two planets are yoked together. The Hopi believe we are currently living in the fourth world, but are on the threshold of the fifth. In each of the previous worlds, humanity was destroyed by destructive practices and wars, evils which will not be inherent to the fifth world. The fifth world is also referred to as the Legend of Five Suns, which states that the black Tezcatlipoca was chosen as the new sun but only managed to become half a sun or a less than spectacular moon, another apparent reference to the black sun known in modern science as the Orion Nebula. The arrival of a mysterious black planet is also found within Mesoamerican mythology as the black sun, which has many mystical meanings. The Aztecs associated the passage of the black sun with the image of a butterfly, an archetypical symbol of the transcendent soul, transformation and mystical rebirth. This is likely because the arrival of the Orion Nebula, that is, the black sun, will bring about the emergence of the fifth world. The frightening earth goddess Itzpapalotl, who is known as the obsidian butterfly, devours the people during the solar eclipses which she herself causes. This appears to be a reference to the cleansing effect that the black sun will have upon Earth. Consequently, the black sun became a symbol of esoteric and occult significance during the Nazi era in Germany, who was responsible for roughly 60 million deaths. Lastly, black dwarfs are referred to as black suns, and the aforementioned Ceres just happens to be a black dwarf planet. A coincidence? Not a chance. Lastly, back on May 4, 1994, the band Soundgarden released a song entitled Black Hole Sun, which lamented the arrival of the black hole sun, otherwise known as the Orion Nebula, which is coincidentally known as the Black Sun within Mesoamerican mythology. Because of this affiliation, the CIA executed the blood sacrifice of Soundgarden singer Chris Cornell on May 17, 2017, which was evidently offered up to the impending apocalypse. Chapter 57, The Hindu God of Ra. In the Hindu tradition, Ra is the severed head of Svabhanu who swallows the sun, causing eclipses. This is likely where the word Ru was derived from, for the world will rue the day when Ra or the Orion Nebula, that is, Ceres, Nibiru, Planet 9, Planet X, rings of Saturn, etc., passes over Earth. Ra is one of the Navagraha, 9 planets, in Vedic astrology, and is often paired with Ketu, C/K plus T, which is consonantly speaking the same as the term cut, C/K plus T, for it marks the cut in time between the ages. In Vedic astronomy, Ra is considered to be a rogue planet. The term rogue is defined as aberrant, dangerous, or uncontrollable, or something that is different from others in usually a dangerous or harmful way. Legend states that Ra'u's immortal head swallows the sun from time to time, causing eclipses. The sun passes then through the opening at the neck, ending the eclipse. Ra'u is seen as a demon that does his best to plunge any area of life it controls into chaos, mystery, and cruelty. Ra'u is also a legendary master of deception who signifies cheaters, pleasure seekers, drug dealers, poison dealers, insincere and immoral acts. This account appears to be a veiled reference to the cleansing effect that Ra'u or the Orion Nebula will have upon the wicked people of Earth. Interestingly, the Naganath temple at Thiruvananthapuram, Tamil Nadu, India is dedicated to the god of Ra'u. The daily Abhishekam, that is, an enacted prayer, rite of passage and or religious rite or ritual, during Ra'u Kalam features milk that turns blue when it flows down and touches the statue of Ra'u. The ritual, which has been followed for over 1,500 years, is an apparent tribute to the blue lightning of the Orion Nebula, which will likely be the result of syzygy, that is, when planetary bodies are yoked together. Lastly, according to Hopi prophecy, when the blue star Kakina makes an appearance in the heavens, the fifth world will emerge. Book 16, Exodus to the International Space Station. Chapter 58, CERN's construction of the Death Star. In the event that the Orion Nebula, that is, Ceres, Nibiru, Planet 9, Planet X, rings of Saturn, etc., induces a physical and or spiritual cleansing of Earth, the Greco-Roman Empire which currently rules over planet Earth will no doubt be destroyed. Consequently, it stands to reason that they would vacate Earth prior to the end of the Maya calendar on December 21, 2018, in order to escape the apocalypse, only to return to Earth at a later date and regain control. As revealed in the Truther.org report from August 1, 2015, entitled Death Star appears over CERN, Switzerland, home of the C.I.A. Swiss citizens noticed a bright new star in Switzerland's western sky starting in March of 2015. Vividly brighter than Venus which flanked it, the apparently man-made Death Star was located approximately 1,000 miles above Earth in lower Earth orbit, LEO. Interestingly, The Death Star was temporarily positioned above CERN, which is located in Geneva, Switzerland, the de facto capital of the underworld. Coincidentally, the geometry of CERN mimics that of the Death Star from Star Wars exactly because CERN is evidently the Death Star's command center, which doubles as an advanced nuclear laboratory. Interestingly, the geometry of the Death Star is reflected in the shape of CERN's globe of science and innovation, which is exactly what the Death Star is. The logo of CERN, as well as in the logo and construction of the Atlas experiment, which appears to be scientific cover for the actual construction of the Death Star, that is, the International Space Station. Exactly what the Death Star was doing above CERN is not yet known, but it's highly likely that it was conducting some form of communication-related beta testing prior to its departure to space on Ascension Day, May 5, 2016. Although it's called the Death Star, the massive space station is in reality a life star, for it was built to save the life of the Greco-Roman Empire during the apocalypse. Whether the International Space Station, ISS, is operational cover for the Death Star is not yet known, but it's highly likely for ISS, S+S, and Suisse, S+S, the original name of Switzerland, are consonantly speaking the same term. Consequently, ISS may in fact be code word for the Death Star, which, like Switzerland, home of the CIA, is responsible for keeping the Greco-Roman Empire safe. Although the Death Star disappeared from the Swiss sky around July 15, 2015, it was likely moved above Greenland or another remote location where it could remain hidden from the prying eyes of the underworld prior to its departure to deep space. Chapter 59. NASA's Death Star Hoax. Because CIA headquarters beneath Lake Geneva, known locally in Switzerland as the Federal Intelligence Service, is actively spying on author, journalist and peace activist David Chase Taylor by monitoring his cell phone and computer. They knew he was planning to publish a report about the Death Star located above Switzerland. In order to preempt the report, NASA published a propaganda report on June 11, 2015, stating that the appearance of the Death Star was a naturally occurring astrological phenomenon. In short, NASA claimed that the Death Star was the conjunction of Jupiter and Venus, a phenomenon which reportedly won't happen again until 2023. The first problem with NASA's report is that they state that the phenomenon was only relegated to June of 2015. This contradicts scores of eyewitness reports which claim that the Death Star was visible in the Swiss sky starting in March of 2015. Taylor personally witnessed the Death Star in May of 2015 and monitored it almost daily until it disappeared on or around July 15, 2015. The second problem with NASA's report is that there was never a star as bright as the Death Star in the night sky. In other words, when Jupiter and Venus are located in the sky, their brightness failed in comparison to that of the Death Star as depicted in numerous photos and videos. The third problem with NASA's report is that there is no star as large as the Death Star in the night sky. That is to say that when the largest stars are located in the sky, their size failed in comparison to that of the Death Star as evidenced by numerous photos and videos. The fourth problem with NASA's report is that there are no photos or videos corroborating Jupiter and Venus' alleged conjunction. In other words, there is no evidence which depicts the gradual conjunction of the two planetary bodies. They are only seen at the same relative distance to each other as depicted in numerous photos and videos. Lastly, in order to muddy the waters in respect to the appearance of the Death Star over CERN in Switzerland, Russia Today published a report on July 1, 2015, entitled "Thousands Catch Jupiter, Venus Forming Super Bright Star of Bethlehem." The reference to the Star of Bethlehem was designed to attach a biblical connotation to the appearance of the Death Star, perpetuating the notion that its appearance above CERN in Geneva, Switzerland was a naturally occurring cosmic phenomena. Chapter 60. Eyewitnesses place Death Star over CERN. It appears that the Greco-Roman Empire in Greenland vacated planet Earth for the International Space Station, that is, the Death Star, on May 5, 2016. The notion that the Greco-Romans vacated Earth on this date was confirmed, albeit in a de facto manner, on April 20, 2016, when Yahoo News published a report entitled "Sun God Apollo Presides Over Final Flame Rehearsal." The timing of the report suggests that the eternal flame of Rome previously located in Greenland was transferred to the Death Star just prior to its departure. As originally depicted in the 20 Minutes report from May 9, 2016, entitled "Mysterious Origin Gross Verbluft Meteorologen," a weather satellite in Switzerland identified ring-shaped formations of rain clouds above CERN, despite the fact that there was no clouds in the sky. Although only conjecture, it appears that the Death Star made its final visit to CERN before its scheduled departure from Earth on Ascension Day, May 5, 2016. The notion that a select number of people will be spared from the impending apocalypse on Earth is known in Christian eschatology as the rapture, which states that 144,000 people will be suddenly taken off Earth in order to escape the Great Tribulation at the end of days. The number 144,000 was evidently derived from the term Baktan in the Maya calendar, which equates to 144,000 days or 394 years. The Maya calendar, that is, the calendar of May, was given its respective name because it ends, at least for the Greco-Romans, in the month of May, M+Y, a term which is consonantly speaking the same as Maya, M+Y. The notion that May is the end of days for the Greco-Roman Empire was foreshadowed back in 2011 when American Christian radio host Harold Camping claimed that the rapture and Judgment Day would take place on May 21, 2011. Although the prediction was a hoax, the month of May has since become synonymous with the end of the Maya calendar. Lastly, the notion that the Greco-Roman Empire will abandon Earth for the safety of space was foreshadowed in the song by Europe entitled Final Countdown, 1986, which states ... we're leaving together ... but still it's farewell ... and maybe we'll come back ... to Earth. Who can tell? I guess there is no one to blame ... we're leaving ground ... will things ever be the same again? It's the final countdown, see video. Chapter 61, Ascension Day, May 5, 2016. Based on mythological, numerological and symbolical evidence, it appears that the ruling class of the Greco-Roman Empire vacated Earth for the safety of the International Space Station, that is, the Death Star, on May 5, 2016, which was coincidentally Ascension Day. The number 55 found within the date of May 5, that is, 55, symbolically equates to SS, a veiled symbolic tribute to the Greco-Roman goddess of Isis and as well as the ISS, International Space Station, after which it is named. The annual celebration known as Cinco de Mayo, that is, the 5th of May, commemorates the Mexican Army's unlikely victory over the French Empire at the Battle of Puebla back on May 5, 1862. The holiday, which is often misconstrued as Mexico's Independence Day, appears to be a veiled celebratory tribute to the unlikely victory of the Greco-Roman Empire over the impending apocalypse. Chapter 62, Secret Plans for the Death Star. The notion that the Greco-Roman Empire in Greenland was planning to build a space station in a desperate attempt to avoid the apocalypse on Earth was first identified in a book by Edward Everett Hale entitled The Brick Moon, 1869, which was published roughly 148 years ago. In short, the Brick Moon, CPDF, describes the construction of space stations which look eerily similar to that of the Death Star from Star Wars. Although the Brick Moon was allegedly built as a navigational aid, it was accidentally launched into orbit with people on board who lived to tell about it. The link between man-made space stations and Greenland was also made within the Brick Moon, which states, ... we fell to work on plans for making the space station large and very light ... lest it should fall on the heads of the Greenlanders or the Patagonians, lest they should be injured and the world lose its new moon. The notion that the future inhabitants of the space station rule over planet Earth is also found within the Brick Moon, which states, ... can it be possible that all human sympathies can thrive, and all human powers be exercised, and all human joys increase ... can it be possible that our passion for large cities, and large parties, and large theaters, and large churches, develops no faith nor hope nor love which would not find element and exercise in a little world of our own? In other words, the Death Star was built to enable the Greco-Roman Empire to continue on with life as they know it during the apocalypse, albeit in space. Based on an excerpt in the Brick Moon which states, start, then, 2 moons ... suppose one over the meridian of Greenwich, and the other over that of New Orleans, it can be deduced that 2 space stations were likely built. Coincidentally, there are 2 Death Stars in the Star Wars film series. In the original Star Wars film, General Tagg states, "And what of the rebellion?" If the rebels have obtained a complete technical readout of this station, it is possible, however unlikely, that they might find a weakness and exploit it. Darth Vader then responds, "The plans you refer to will soon be back in our hands," which suggests that keeping the Death Star a secret has been the primary concern of the Greco-Roman Empire. The space race was the 20th century competition between the Soviet Union, USSR, and the United States, US, for alleged spaceflight supremacy, which appears to have been political and scientific cover for the race to build the 2 respective space stations, that is, Death Stars. In all likelihood, America built one Death Star while Russia built the other. That is likely why the Mir and Salyut space stations admittedly make up a considerable part of the International Space Station, ISS, and why the logo of the Salyut program and the insignia of the Mir space station depict the outline of the Death Star. Considering the long list of space stations built by various countries over the last few decades, it's highly likely that they were individual parts which collectively make up the two Death Stars today. Lastly, it appears that the Death Star is solar-powered in nature, a notion based on the work of German physicist Hermann Oberth, 1894–1989, who developed plans for a space station orbiting Earth at a height of 8,200 kilometers, 5,100 miles. Oberth's space station featured a 100-meter-wide concave mirror called a sun gun which utilized the sun's energy, albeit in the form of a weapon. Coincidentally, the Death Star in Star Wars has a concave design, and the latest Star Wars film entitled Star Wars: The Force Awakens, 2015, features a new Death Star-like planet entitled Starkiller Base which utilizes energy from the sun. Shocking coincidences to say the very least. Chapter 63, The Death Star in Action. In what appears to be the actual Death Star, that is, the International Space Station, moving across space, the Weather Network published a report on May 31, 2015, entitled Death Star Black Hole Blasts Out Killer Beam into Space, which revealed photographs allegedly taken of a black hole by the ISS, which is semantical and scientific cover for the Death Star. In reality, the so-called immense jet beaming out of the core appears to be actual photographs of the Death Star jetting across space with the aid of a rocket-like booster. Although HubbleSite.org claims that these extragalactic jets are tearing across hundreds of light-years of space at 98% the speed of light, they appear to be nothing more than the exhaust trail of the Death Star, which would naturally have a way to propel itself through space. Interestingly, the official name of the alleged elliptical black hole galaxy is 3C264, also known as NGC 3862, which invokes the name of C-3PO, the droid from Star Wars who visited the Death Star on multiple occasions. Lastly, although only conjecture, it appears that the large disk-like crater inherent to the Death Star is in fact the exhaust port of the Death Star's massive engine. That is to say that the Death Star as depicted in the original Star Wars films and virtually all artistic renditions is upside down. This notion was confirmed, albeit in a de facto manner, when an upside-down Death Star fired upon and destroyed Jeddah City in the film entitled Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, 2016. Chapter 64, The Death Star in Reality. It is imperative to note that virtually all reports claiming or inferring that the Death Star is real were disseminated by the CIA in the aftermath of the Truther.org report from August 1, 2015, entitled Death Star Appears Over CERN, Switzerland, Home of the C.A. Because there are literally billions of Star Wars fans around the world, the notion that the Death Star is real is bound to go viral sooner or later, which is why the CIA is desperately trying to muddy the waters in respect to the fact that a Death Star exists. That being said, the notion that the Death Star is real was first identified back on March 24, 2012, when the Daily Mail published a report entitled May the Fjord Be With You, Star Wars Death Star Appears Over Copenhagen, which appears to have been a predated publicity stunt designed to muddy the waters in respect to the aforementioned discovery of the Death Star over CERN in Switzerland. Roughly 9 months later, on December 3, 2012, the Huffington Post published a report entitled Death Star Petition Urges White House to Build Killer Space Station, which revealed that Americans were petitioning the White House to construct a Death Star by 2016 to strengthen national defense. The likely predated petition read in part that, those who sign here petition the United States government to secure funding and resources, and begin construction on a Death Star by 2016. Although only conjecture, it appears the Lego building blocks were originally invented for the construction of the Death Star. In short, it appears that the bricks were prefabricated at Area 51 in Nevada and flown to the construction site of the Death Star above Los Angeles via space shuttles. In what appears to be a tribute to this very notion, it was reported on February 12, 2015, that Legoland California unveiled a massive new Death Star model built from over 500,000 plastic bricks. Roughly a month later, on March 14, 2016, The Week published a report entitled Real-Life Death Star Can Protect the Earth from Asteroids, which further invoked the notion that a real-life Death Star exists in reality. Roughly 9 months later, on December 6, 2016, it was reported that Epcot's spaceship Earth was transformed into the Death Star, which further invoked the notion that the Death Star exists in reality. A week later, on December 13, 2016, Space.com published a report entitled Could We Build a Real-Life Death Star?, which floated the notion of constructing an actual Death Star in reality. A day later, on December 14, 2016, The Express published a report entitled Real Death Star? bizarre spherical cloud-hiding alien ship appears in the sky, which further invokes the notion that the Death Star is real. Roughly 14 months later, on February 14, 2018, Popular Mechanics published a report entitled The Very Real History of Death Stars, which was designed to muddy the waters in respect to the fact that the Death Star is real. Needless to say, these reports, taken collectively, confirm, albeit in a de facto manner, that the International Space Station, ISS, otherwise known as the Death Star, exists, and that the CIA is desperately trying to cover it up. Chapter 65, Death Star Moon of Mimas. The notion that the Death Star, that is, the International Space Station, is real is corroborated by the fact that NASA created Mimas, an alleged moon of Saturn which was reportedly discovered in 1789 by William Herschel and is named after Mimas, a son of Gaia in Greek mythology. This was done premeditatively in the event that any astronomers or stargazers located and photographed the Death Star in lower Earth orbit, LEO. In the event that this transpired in reality, the moon of Mimas would be cited as the object within the photographs, which is exactly why Mimas exhibits the exact same geometry as the Death Star from Star Wars. The odd that a natural moon mimics the geometry of the Death Star exactly is likely 100 trillion to 1, which suggests that Mimas as a moon is fictitious in nature. Because Mimas is scientific cover for the Death Star, its alleged diameter of 396 kilometers, 246 miles, is the smallest astronomical body in the universe that is known to be rounded in shape because of self-gravitation. That is to say that the circular shape of Mimas is a phenomenon which does not exist anywhere else in space for a moon of this size. Needless to say, this further suggests that Mimas is in fact a man-made concoction and was created for scientific cover for the Death Star. Considering that Mimas was allegedly discovered by the astronomer William Herschel on September 17, 1789, it's possible that 1789 is the year when construction on the Death Star commenced. Because Mimas is scientific cover for the Death Star, which was specifically built to enable the ruling class of the Greco-Roman Empire to survive the apocalypse, there are scores of references to Mimas within popular culture. For example, in Isaac Asimov's novel entitled Lucky Star and the Rings of Saturn, 1958, the hero hides his spaceship within Mimas in order to escape from his enemies, a veiled reference to the Greco-Romans who are currently hiding out on the Death Star to escape the apocalypse. In Grant Quinn's novel entitled Saturnalia, 1986, Mimas is a site of human colonization and called M Base, the letter M being an acronym for Empire, as in the Greco-Roman Empire who temporarily live on Mimas, that is, the Death Star, during the apocalypse. In the short story Zero Summer by Caitlin Ark-Iernan, Mimas is the destination of a starship manned by 2 androids. In reality, Mimas is cover for the spaceship known as the Death Star. Mimas is a recurring location in the television show entitled Red Dwarf, 1988 to 2017, and its spin-off novels. In the 1991 episode entitled Dimension Jump, Mimas hosts a Space Corps test base for test pilot Arnold J. Ace Rimmer, a veiled reference to the Death Star, which is the temporary home base of the Greco-Roman Empire during the apocalypse, which is when humanity jumps from one dimension or age to the other. In the 1992 episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, 1987 to 1984, entitled The First Duty, 1992, Mimas is the site of an evacuation station to which 4 Starfleet cadets transfer to, another cinematic reference to Mimas being an actual space station. In the tabletop science fiction game Warhammer 40,000, 1987 present, Mimas serves as a high-security prison for the most dangerous prisoners of the Ordo Malleus branch of the Inquisition. That is because the ruling class of the Greco-Roman Empire have become prisoners within the Death Star since May 5, 2016, albeit of their own choosing. In Paul J. Macaulay's The Quiet War, 2008, Mimas is home to a notable outer family which has profound influence over Jovian Saturnian satellite politics. In other words, Mimas is home to the 13 families of the Greco-Roman Empire who plan to hide out on the Death Star when Saturn pays Earth a visit during the apocalypse. In Alexander Jans's science fiction novel Higher Reality, 2015, Mimas is where the protagonist encounters a strange extraterrestrial craft while investigating the disappearance of the crew of a small outpost. This appears to be a veiled reference to the strange spacecraft known as the Death Star, which disappeared into outer space with a small crew of persons, namely the ruling class of the Greco-Roman Empire. Needless to say, these cinematic and literary associations between Mimas and space stations confirm, albeit in a de facto manner, that Mimas is in fact code word for the Death Star, that is, the International Space Station. Lastly, the notion that Mimas is cover for the actual Death Star was foreshadowed back on December 15, 2016, when Space.com published a report entitled Actually, That is a Moon, Saturn's Death Star-like Mimas. Chapter 66, Death Star Moon of Tethys. The notion that the Death Star, that is, the International Space Station, is real is corroborated by the fact that NASA created Tethys, an alleged moon of Saturn which was reportedly discovered in 1684 by G.D. Cassini and named after the Titan Tethys of Greek mythology. This was done premeditatively in the event that any astronomers or stargazers located and photographed the Death Star in lower Earth orbit, LEO. In the event that this transpired in reality, the moon of Tethys would be cited as the object within the photographs, which is why Tethys exhibits the exact same geometry of the Death Star. The odd that a natural moon mimics the geometry of the Death Star from Star Wars exactly is likely 100 trillion to 1, which suggests that Tethys is in fact man-made. Considering that Tethys was allegedly discovered by Cassini in 1684, it's possible that this was the year when plans for the Death Star were first concocted. Because Tethys is scientific cover for the Death Star, which was specifically built to enable the ruling class of the Greco-Roman Empire to survive the apocalypse, there are scores of references to Tethys within popular culture. For example, Tethys is the setting for the science fiction thriller Saturn III, 1980, a veiled reference to Tethys, that is, the Death Star, being home to a real-life science thriller during the apocalypse. In the American animated television series entitled Exo Squad, 1993-1994, Tethys was the primary base of the pirate clans prior to the discovery of chaos. That is to say that Tethys is the primary base of the Greco-Romans, who were originally pirates, during the chaos of the apocalypse. Lastly, due to the large crater on the surface of Tethys, it is referred to as the Death Moon, invoking the Death Star from Star Wars, which is coincidentally a moon-sized space station.